The nursery is quiet except for one sound, the low, rhythmic hum of a mother's voice, murmuring nothing in particular while her fingers trace slow circles across her newborn's belly. To anyone watching, it looks like nothing. A few minutes of touch, a few minutes of talk, the kind of moment that happens 1,000 times a day in 1,000 different homes. So ordinary it barely registers as an event at all. But inside that infant's brain, something extraordinary is happening, something that neuroscientists have only recently learned to see. For decades, we assumed a baby's brain simply grew like a plant left in the sun, following its own internal timetable, indifferent to the small daily rituals of the people around it. Feed it, keep it warm, keep it safe, and the architecture would build itself. But that assumption turns out to be wrong in a very specific and very startling way. Because in the first years of life, the human brain is not simply growing, it is being sculpted, moment by moment, touch by touch, sound by sound, by the exact kind of 5-minute ritual happening in that nursery right now. Here is the mystery at the heart of this story. Somewhere in the daily chaos of feeding schedules and diaper changes, a handful of ordinary minutes, eye contact during a diaper change, a sing-song voice during a stroller walk, a warm hand resting on a small back, appear to leave a physical trace, not a metaphorical one, a physical, measurable trace, written directly into the wiring of the developing brain. Which raises the question researchers have spent the last 30 years trying to answer. What exactly is happening inside a baby's head during those small, seemingly forgettable minutes of connection? Why would an evolution build a brain that depends so heavily on something as fragile and inconsistent as a parent's daily attention? And what does it mean that the difference between a brain that thrives and a brain that merely survives might come down to something as small, as repeatable, and as available to nearly every caregiver on Earth as 5 minutes a day? To understand the answer, we need to go inside the newborn brain itself, into a process that is reshaping how scientists think about the earliest architecture of the human mind. To understand what's really happening, we have to zoom into the newborn brain at the cellular level, because what looks like an emotional moment on the outside is, on the inside, a construction project of almost unimaginable scale. A baby is not born with a finished brain. At birth, the brain already contains almost all the neurons it will ever have, roughly 86 billion of them. But those neurons are, in a very real sense, still strangers to one another. The task of infancy is not to build more brain cells, it's to wire the ones that already exist, connecting them into functioning circuits through structures called synapses, the tiny junctions where one neuron passes a signal to the next. And the pace of that wiring in the first years of life is staggering. During peak periods of early development, the infant brain can form over 1 million new neural connections every single second. Not a minute, every second. It is, quite literally, the fastest and most intensive period of brain building a human being will ever experience. But here's the detail that changes everything. The brain doesn't just build connections, it prunes them. Synapses that get used repeatedly are strengthened and preserved. Synapses that never fire, that never get called upon, are gradually eliminated. Neuroscientists sometimes describe this with the simple phrase, neurons that fire together, wire together. The brain is, in effect, listening to the baby's experience and using it as a blueprint, keeping what gets used, discarding what doesn't. This is where those 5 minutes stop being sentimental and start being biological. When a caregiver leans in, makes eye contact, and speaks in that instinctive sing-song voice researchers call parentese, It isn't just affection, it's a data event. The infant brain registers the face, the tone, the rhythm, the warmth of touch, and fires cascades of neural activity across regions responsible for vision, hearing, emotional regulation, and language, all at once, all together, all wiring together in that instant. Touch itself carries its own biological signature. Skin-to-skin contact and gentle touch stimulate a nerve pathway that triggers the release of oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone, along with a measurable drop in cortisol, the body's primary stress hormone. In other words, 5 minutes of physical closeness doesn't just feel calming to a baby. It chemically lowers the baby's stress load and floods the brain with a hormone that appears to support attachment circuitry and emotional regulation, circuitry that infant will rely on for the rest of their life. And the voice matters just as much as the hands. Infants exposed to rich, responsive language, even before they can understand a single word, show stronger development in the brain regions tied to future language processing. Not because the baby understands the sentence, "You're such a good sleeper today," but because the rhythm, the turn-taking, the back and forth of a caregiver responding to a coo or babble is training the auditory and language centers of the brain to expect connection, pattern, and dialogue. This is the hidden mechanism behind the ritual. Those 5 minutes are not a break from brain development, they are brain development, a dense multisensory packet of touch, sound, and eye contact that arrives at exactly the moment the infant brain is primed to absorb it, strengthen it, and wire it permanently into place. Which leaves us with an even bigger question. Why would a species build a brain this dependent on something so small, so ordinary, and so easy to overlook? To understand why the human brain evolved this way, we have to leave the nursery and go back roughly 2 million years to a moment when our ancestors made a trade that no other species on Earth had ever attempted. Compared to almost every other mammal, human babies are born strikingly unfinished. A newborn foal can stand and walk within an hour of birth. A newborn chimpanzee can cling to its mother's fur almost immediately, its motor systems already largely online. A human newborn can do neither. It cannot lift its own head. It cannot regulate its own body temperature for long. It cannot survive more than a few hours without another human actively caring for it. Anthropologists have a name for this: the theory of secondary altriciality, sometimes described more bluntly as the human infant being born a full year too early, developmentally speaking. And the reason traces back to a brutal piece of evolutionary math. As our ancestors' brains grew larger to support tool use, language, and complex social cooperation, those bigger brains needed bigger skulls. But human females also evolved narrower hips, optimized for walking upright on 2 legs. At some point, those two trends collided. A skull large enough to hold a fully wired brain could no longer safely pass through the birth canal. Evolution's solution was not to make the pelvis wider or the brain smaller. It was to change the timeline entirely, to send human babies into the world with a skull small enough to fit and a brain deliberately left unfinished to be completed after birth instead of before it. This is the piece that reframes everything. Human babies are not born underdeveloped by accident. They are born underdeveloped by design, because natural selection essentially outsourced the final stage of brain construction to the outside world, to the environment, to the caregiver, to exactly the kind of touch, voice, and eye contact happening in that 5-minute ritual. Seen this way, the parent isn't simply loving the baby. The parent is functioning as an external part of the baby's own developing nervous system, a second brain temporarily on loan, finishing the wiring job that couldn't safely be completed in the womb. And this pattern isn't unique to humans. Biologists studying other highly social species, elephants, primates, and dolphins, find a similar signature. The longer and more complex a species' childhood, the more its brain development depends on sustained contact with caregivers, not just nutrition and protection. Complexity, it turns out, requires apprenticeship, and no species on Earth stretches that apprenticeship longer or leans on it more heavily in the first years than humans do. Which means that ordinary 5-minute ritual in the nursery isn't a modern parenting technique, and it isn't a trend borrowed from a book. It's the visible tip of a strategy roughly 2 million years in the making. A strategy that bet the entire architecture of human intelligence on the reliability of a caregiver showing up again and again in small, repeated moments of contact. The question now is what that means for the person standing in the nursery today, and for the brain being built, one small moment at a time. Which brings us back to that quiet room, and to the millions of rooms like it, all over the world right now. There is something almost dizzying about realizing that an act as small as 5 minutes of undivided attention is not a nicety, not an extra, not something to feel guilty about failing to perfect, but a direct continuation of a 2-million-year-old evolutionary strategy. Every time a caregiver leans in, meets a baby's eyes, and lets their voice fall into that instinctive sing-song rhythm, they are participating in something far older and far larger than themselves. They are finishing a brain that biology deliberately left unfinished, exactly so that this moment could happen. And there's a quiet reassurance hidden inside that science. This isn't a story about perfection. It isn't a story that demands elaborate routines, expensive toys, or flashcards taped to the nursery wall. The mechanism researchers have spent decades uncovering runs on something far simpler and far more universal: presence, touch, voice, attention, freely given again and again in small repeated doses. The kind of ritual available to nearly any caregiver, in any home, on any budget, in any corner of the world. Perhaps that's the real revelation buried inside the neuroscience. We tend to imagine brain development as something that happens on its own, quietly, invisibly, behind the scenes, the way a seed becomes a tree without anyone watching. But the human brain doesn't build itself in isolation. It builds itself in relationship. Every coo answered, every gaze returned, every gentle touch is a kind of message passed from one nervous system to another. A message that says, in the oldest language there is, you are safe, you are seen, you are not alone in this, and because of that, you may grow. 2 million years of evolution bet everything on this exchange. Not on a single dramatic moment, but on the accumulation of thousands of small, unremarkable ones, 5 minutes at a time, repeated until they become the architecture of a mind. And somewhere in a quiet room, that architecture is being built right now.